This video contains excerpts from an online workshop that the US-Asia Law Institute held in June 2020. The workshop participants were legal professionals or scholars from mainland China, Taiwan, and Japan, who were already broadly familiar with the United States criminal procedure and evidence rules. The presenters were experienced judges, defense counsel, former prosecutors, and law professors. The workshops were designed and led by US-Asia Law Institute Senior Research Scholar Ira Belkin, a former federal prosecutor.
This session is about digital and machine-generated evidence, a topic that is really cutting edge, both in terms of the law in the United States and around the world, but also cutting edge in terms of technology. And we arranged this session in response to so many questions that we received from our colleagues in Asia about how the United States is dealing with new technologies and evidence created by new technologies.
We are both part of a national organization that is run by the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Washington, D.C. That is the only organization left in the United States now that is trying to have some sort of coordinated response to the issues going on in forensic science, from digital evidence to DNA to toxicology to fingerprint analysis. We're talking about information that is stored on devices such as computers, mobile phones, and the analysis and interpretation thereof, and all of the issues that are related to that. But digital evidence is one subset of what we might think of as machine-generated evidence and also electronically stored evidence. Some evidence is actually generated by machines. There's an algorithm that creates an answer or a number or some data that's used in a criminal trial to prove guilt or suggest innocence. And then there's electronically stored information like an email that a person has written, or a social media post that a person has written, but it's on a computer. So we'll be dealing with issues of authentication, but also reliability and confrontation and everything in between.
When practitioners start a case, often what we start with is the discovery, which we'll talk about in a moment. As a criminal defense attorney, usually that information comes from a prosecutor. When I first started practicing law 15 years ago or so, that usually meant paper. For us, a big case was a banker's box. 500 or so pages of discovery would have been a big case. But now in almost every case I have, it begins with the prosecutor asking me to give them a 1 terabyte hard drive. And this is a hard drive that is usually filled with data and discovery. But if we were to think about how much 1 terabyte is, if we were to look at music, for instance, how many songs fit on a 1 terabyte drive? 200,000. What about pictures? How many pictures could you fit on there? 2 million. What about emails? Over 100 million. And what about text documents? The answer is over 600 million. These are very, very large numbers when we're thinking about data. This is far more information than we ever received 15 or 20 years ago when we were trying cases. There's a lot of reasons for this. One of the biggest ones is cell phones. Nowadays, everyone has a cell phone in their pocket, which a lot of times we think of as being a computer. And they are very similar to computers in that they generate a lot of data. But this also means that data often lives in more than one place. And we could think that how many places do your emails live? You have emails on your phone, on your computer, maybe a tablet, and backed up to the cloud. So data lives so many places these days, it's becoming very difficult for us to figure out where do we begin even starting with a case. But what about a case where you have 1,000 emails or 10,000 emails, or cases I have right now with over 100,000 emails? The answer is you're not going to read all of them. And so you'll have to come up with search techniques to figure out which ones to, how you're going to find them. But I also want to make a distinguish something here. What we're talking right now is about what we call discovery in the government. And that is information provided from the government to defense counsel. Not all of this is going to become evidence at trial. In a case with terabytes worth of data, sometimes by the time we get to trial, there might be only 10 or 15 pages that are really at issue.